I don't know about you, but I feel like every restaurant's prices have jumped like $10, if not more, per entree. That's why I'm sharing some brand new amazing holiday copycat recipes with you so that you can cook from the restaurant at home without spending a ton of money. It's also the season to get sick, so you're gonna have to bear with me as my voice is a little funky right now. I'm just recovering from a sinus infection. I'm feeling okay, but we do what we can to get the videos out. I hope you love these. For this one, we're making a holiday favorite from Starbucks. These are the Cranberry Bliss Bars. And I had actually never tried these at Starbucks, but they always looked really good. And they are amazingly better than I even anticipated. So you do want to have a stand mixer. And then you just want to start with 2 sticks of melted butter. It's the holidays. Every recipe has sticks and sticks of butter in it. And you know what? That's okay. We will think about it again in January. To that, you want to add 1.5 cups of brown sugar and mix that together until creamed. It's going to be easier than doing it with like softened butter because it's melted, so it'll come together rather quickly. Then to that, you can add 2 eggs, a teaspoon of orange extract. So this is a little bit different than something that I have kept on hand, so I did purchase it. But now that I have it, I want to use it. So if you have any recipes that you use orange extract for that you absolutely love, please share down below because I would just love to know them so that I can use it up. I hate wasting stuff, you know? And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract as well. And then while that's mixing off to the side, I'm going to get together our dry ingredients. So that's 2 cups of flour with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, and just give that a good mix so that everything's well mixed through. And then once all the wet ingredients are mixed well, you can just slowly add in the dry ingredients until that is also well mixed. We're just going to well mix everything. Why not? And once that's all together, you want to stop the paddle and then hand mix in 3/4 cup of craisins or dried cranberries and 1 cup of white chocolate chips. So ideally you want like a 9x13 jelly pan, and you can either grease it or put on parchment paper. I think this is more like an 11x17 cookie sheet. It actually worked. I mean, it worked fine. Like, you can use what you have. I'm not like all about going out and buying things just so that you can make one recipe, right? Except for that orange extract, of course. But I will use it. So you want to spread the dough to kind of cover. And I realized using this that I wanted to use 2 sheets of parchment paper because I really wanted to cover the sides too, so it made sure that I didn't want it to stick to the sides, and that's why you can either grease it or use the parchment paper, and just spread it out really well and as evenly as possible. And then you want to cook this at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. I was really surprised at how much this is actually like very cookie-like. Like, I thought it was more of like a scone, like a breakfast type thing, but it's really more of like a cookie bar that, you know what, you can just eat for breakfast because it's the holidays. Why not? It's delicious with coffee. And that orange flavor in there is really incredible. It's kind of like a white chocolate cranberry cookie, but with an orange flavor that it's an addition to it. Like, it's even better. So you want to let the bars cool on the sheet for 5 minutes. And then I just left mine on the parchment paper, and then I moved them over to a rack to cool off. And so while that's cooling, you're going to make your topping. And you want to make sure that those bars are fully cool so you can start the topping a little bit later. It will probably take up to an hour to cool down. For the topping, again, you want to get in that stand mixer, or you can use a hand mixer. You want 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. I usually just leave mine out at room temperature for a few hours. And then you want to slowly mix in 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. So just put it all in there. I'm just saying slowly because you don't want to just turn the paddle on high with all the powdered sugar, or else you're going to have a big cloud of powdered sugar all over your kitchen, which is not ideal. You're going to also add in a 1/2 teaspoon of the orange extract, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then once that's done, you just want to spread it evenly over those fully cooled bars, just evenly over the entire thing. It is the exact perfect amount of frosting, so it's going to go on there just right. And then you want to sprinkle on just a little bit of chopped up craisins, so not like the whole craisins, so just chop them up, maybe like a 1/4 cup, maybe a little less, probably like an eighth of a cup. And then the same thing with some white chocolate chips, so that's going to be your topping. And then I just took about a 1/4 cup of You can either use like the melting wafers, the candy melts, or you can just use white chocolate chips and put those in the microwave 30 seconds at first, then give it a mix, and then do 15-second intervals until they're fully melted. It's a super easy way to melt chocolate. And then just drizzle that right over those bars. And I mean, it's so pretty. It's so beautiful. I didn't even just use these for breakfast. It makes so many, first of all. So you're like saving so much money versus what you would, get at Starbucks. So you can just keep these to have, with some coffee in the afternoon for yourself. But I actually ended up chopping mine up into like smaller. So I did like halves of halves, and I put them in my cookie boxes. And so they're really, really wonderful for that. I got a little distracted. First, you want to take it, once you put all that on, and put it in the fridge for a few minutes. And then you want to take them out, put them on a cutting board, and slice them into triangles. And like I said, I did mine in these triangles right now, but then I ended up chopping them into more like quarters. So I chopped the triangles in half and then put those in my cookie boxes. But you can do whatever you want with them. This is going to be an amazing Christmas treat to either serve at a gathering, bring to a potluck, keep for yourself, or even just put a bunch of slices in a little box as a treat and as a gift. So next up, we're making Red Lobster Cheddar Bay Biscuits. And I know you can buy these in a box mix, but I gotta say, that ain't got nothing on these. These are insanely delicious. They are a must try. They are, I want to say more, the M word. They are so delicious and crumbly and just buttery, garlicky goodness.
And these are nice because you may already have everything you need kind of on hand. So you want 2 cups of all-purpose flour mixed with 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And you can see I accidentally put too much garlic powder to start, but I was able to kind of pull it out of there. So just be careful, what side of your package you're opening, because it can surprise you. I want to give that all a mix, and then we're going to cut in 1/3 cup of cold butter, and I cut mine into squares and then used a pastry cutter. I bought the pastry cutter a couple years ago. It has been a godsend when it comes to baking like this, especially if you cook at home a lot or you're planning to cook at home a lot. I know like with the new year, a lot of people make that part of their resolution. Having a pastry cutter really helps for things like this. And then once that's all cut in there, you want to add in 1 cup of milk and 3/4 cup of shredded cheddar. I shredded some of my own cheddar. I had some left from a bag. You can do however you want. I do like to shred it myself, but sometimes just in the name of convenience, I end up with the bags, and that's okay too. So just mix that all together until it's kind of like crumbly. You don't want to overmix it because that'll make dense biscuits. So just until everything's just about incorporated. And then we're going to put that down on a baking sheet with parchment paper or lined with a baking sheet. And I was able to make 8 biscuits with this. Mine were pretty large. So if you like the smaller biscuits, I'm guessing Red Lobsters might actually be a little bit smaller. You can make more pieces. You can put them onto more baking sheets. So you can make it whatever size you want to make it. I liked these big biscuits, so they're really good. And then we're going to bake these at 400 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. You just want to check on them. It's going to depend on your oven, like anything when you're baking. And then while those biscuits are baking, I melted a 1/4 cup of butter just in the microwave. I used the melt setting. A teaspoon of dried parsley, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And this makes an amazing buttery spread to put on them once they come out of the oven. So once they come out, you want to let them cool for a few minutes, and then you can just brush the warm biscuits with that warm butter mixture, and they are honestly phenomenal. So the next thing we're going to do is a hash brown casserole, and this is called Cracker Barrel knockoff. Wow, this is so good. So you need 32 ounces of shredded hash browns, and you can either thaw those in your refrigerator, or I ended up thawing mine in the microwave. You need a stick of butter melted, 16 ounces of sour cream, a 10.5 ounce can of cream of chicken soup. So I actually had a larger one, so I just used kind of part of it. You need 2.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese and an onion. I think you could do a lot of substitutes here. The cream of chicken could actually be the cheddar cheese soup. That is perfectly fine too. And no onion, use onion powder, whatever you want to do. Pull out a bowl big enough to mix all of this together, because you're going to mix your thawed out hash browns with your melted stick of butter. And 1.5 cups of the shredded cheddar cheese. So don't use all the shredded cheddar cheese. Set aside 1 cup because you're going to put that over the top at the end. Then you want to add in your cream of chicken soup. And you can see here that I did leave a little bit in this can since this was an extra large can of soup. I think I got it at the Dollar Tree. And then you also want to add in 16 ounces of sour cream and 1 small diced onion. And then just mix everything up really well. And then you're going to add this into a 13x9 casserole dish and cover with the rest of your shredded cheddar cheese. Do make sure to grease your casserole dish because you have a lot of cheesy goodness in there, but it will stick if you don't grease it. You want to bake this covered at 350 degrees for 35 minutes, and then increase your temperature to 400 degrees and remove the cover and cook for another 5 to 10 minutes, and that will just melt your cheese on top. This is such a great side for your breakfast. We just served this with some scrambled eggs, some bacon. You can have some toast with it if you like. I liked ketchup with it too, pretty good. You can tell Ben thinks it's pretty good too. But this is a great addition to your breakfast on Christmas morning and just like something special, something comforting. Next up, we're making an Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana. And this one's great because I already was able to kind of take some liberties based off of what I had in my house. So you can do the same with yours. It's going to be a budget-friendly alternative, but still really hearty and delicious. You just want to start by dicing 1 large to medium-sized onion. And then in a large pot or Dutch oven, you want to brown about 1 pound of sausage. Now here you can use mild or hot depending on what your family's preferences are. And then also, like, I only had about 1/2 pound of sausage and they were the ones in the casing. So I just squeezed them out of the casings and I used what I had. So, you know, you don't always have to put like all the meat in there if you don't have it. And that was just the situation that I was in. And so I just went with it and it still tasted really good. And then once that meat is cooked, you want to remove it from the pot, just set it aside on a plate, and then heat up 4 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to add in that onion and cook it down for 5 to 6 minutes until it is translucent and like fragrant. And then you want to peel and slice 5 medium to large size potatoes. And you want to put those like maybe like a dice, like you want bite-sized pieces of those potatoes, and you definitely want to peel the skin off there. And word to the wise, I always try to be as efficient as possible. So I tried to cook my onions and then dice my potatoes while I was cooking my onions. In this case, that was a mistake. There was too many potatoes to cook, and so I ended up accidentally burning my onions, which was kind of a bummer because you really want the flavor of that sausage to incorporate in those cooked onions. And so when you burn those and then I had to make a completely new set of onions, I lost that flavor in this soup, and it was still good, but it could have been even better had I had that. And then we're also going to want 4 cups of chopped kale. So you can buy chopped kale, but I don't really love that because they usually leave the kind of stems in the middle of it. So I bought the full heads of kale, and then I cut the stems out of the middle and then chopped it up. And I find that that's the best way to get kale that doesn't have like the big thick stem in it, and it tastes delicious. All right, so working with fresh onions, once those are translucent, I added a teaspoon of chopped garlic and just want to cook that for just a minute till fragrant. And then to add that, you want to add in 6 cups of chicken broth, or you can use chicken bouillon, or I always say in a bind, you can just use water and salt. And that was where I was at. I actually ran out of chicken broth. I ran out of chicken bouillon, if you can believe that. And I was like, you know what, we're going to go with it. We're missing a few things for this soup, but we're going to make it the best that we can. So I just want to always encourage you to improvise and not worry too much about having the exact ingredients, because we don't need to go out and spend a ton of money buying every little last thing. We can still eat really well for less. So Once that water's added in, you're gonna add those potatoes in. And then if you're using broth, you just wanna add salt to taste. So 2 or 3 teaspoons should be absolutely plenty. I added a little bit more because I didn't have broth. When you're not using broth, you really wanna make sure that you are adding seasonings to taste because you're going to need to add that extra flavor in. And then I also added a teaspoon of fresh cracked black pepper. And you want to bring this soup up to a boil and then boil until those potatoes are tender. And then you can add that sausage back in, as well as the kale and 2 cups of either heavy cream or half and half, or you can even use milk. I used milk. Mine was a little bit of a thinner soup, and I was totally okay with that. Like, it felt like a healthier version. Flavor was still there. Like, we made it work. And then I always just recommend season to taste. Like, it feels like it needs a little something extra added in. I added about a half a teaspoon of onion powder last minute, and about 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Even though I'd already put onion and garlic in there, it really feel like it needed a little bit more, and that's probably because of that lack of broth. So if you're using broth or bouillon, you're probably going to get that depth of flavor without worrying about it, but I needed a little bit more. So I added that, and then I also added about a quarter cup of Parmesan cheese, because I'm like, you know what, cheese tastes really good in this too. And once I add all that stuff, like, the flavor was so delicious. It was an amazing Zuppa Toscana. You can serve this with some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. You can even put in like a little bit of crumbled bacon over the top if you have some. And you're going to feel like you're at the restaurant without spending all that money.
Today, Ben and I are going to make Phoebe Buffet's grandmother's cookie recipe from Nestle Tollhouse. Right?
Yeah.
No, but really, we're going to do, I don't even know if this is like a copycat recipe, but we're making Tollhouse cookies. You can buy the log in the store, but it's so much better if you make them at home, especially because you know exactly what ingredients are going in there. We like to follow the instructions on the back of the package, but I also like to do my own twist on it, so I will explain that as we go. All right, Ben, we need to start with 2 sticks of butter.
Yeah.
You going to help with that?
Mama, I just looking at the fryer.
You're just looking at it?
Yeah.
We're definitely going to put that in there too. That'll be good,
Yeah.
right? What is your favorite type of cookie, Ben?
How about a gingerbread house?
Oh, you like gingerbread?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do some sugar.
Yeah.
3/4 a cup of sugar and 3/4 a cup of brown sugar.
Yeah, I want to do a cup.
Okay, so we're gonna do 3/4 of a cup.
Well,
So 1/4, 2,
2.
and then 3. We need to do 3/4.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not quite enough.
Oh, I want this.
All right, 3/4. All right. Oh, don't pull it, Bella. Oh, yeah, make sure you get it in there. All right, what do you think, Ben? Should we get out some flour now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we need 2 1/4 cups of flour. So we're actually going to use this again.
Yeah.
And see, when we do our flour, we want to make sure it's just right. So can you put that in?
Yeah.
Oh, very good job. All right.
But that's a giant pot.
Yep, we're going to use a giant pot.
Yeah. Whoa, a big.
All right, can you do this one?
But this is a giant
Come on,
cup.
put it in here.
But this is a giant cup.
I know, that's a cup measure. We have to do one more.
But that's a giant one.
Okay, here you go.
But that's a giant one.
I know. And then I'm just going to add about 1/8 of a cup of flour extra. I find that keeps the cookies a little bit more structured, so I like that a lot. All right, we need a teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, put it in. Very good job. Now we need a teaspoon of salt.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, no, don't put your hands in. You get like this, okay? Now put it in. Good job. Nice work.
I also want to be clear that I've talked to Ben about safety around the mixer, and if you ask him, do we touch the mixer, he absolutely knows the answer is no. So he is very good and well behaved and not in danger.
Tiny spoon I ever seen.
The tiny spoon. You mix that up with that little tiny spoon.
Yeah.
So Ben's going to do our mixing. In the meantime, I've scraped down the sides of the pan here. This is all mixed together pretty well. I'm going to do about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, but we measure with our heart, so
I always like vanilla. It's really yummy.
Yeah.
Right, Benny?
Yeah, I want.
Oh, I already did that one, okay?
Oh.
It's really good. Okay, we're going to do 2 eggs in here. I'm going to try not to get any.
Mama, I want to try to do an extra one.
Nope, you can't do an egg. Because, woo. All right, we're all good. Smooth. Now it's time to spoon this in here, okay?
Yeah!
I'm gonna have to do this part because it's a little scary, okay? We don't want to get hurt, okay? All right, I'm gonna scrape up the bottom a little bit because I see that there's some stuck on there. I want to make sure that it gets really well mixed. Depends on the type of mixer you have. I find that with this professional one, at the bottom, there's like this part that doesn't get mixed, which is kind of frustrating because this is the, you know, it's supposed to be the better model, but I don't know if that's true, you know? Here, Betty. Oh, you want one?
This one more.
Eat it?
I want to put them in.
Okay. Do you want to eat them?
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna have a little. So good.
Let's mix it.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's so hard.
I know, it's hard. You need my help?
Yeah.
Let's do it together. So I make cookie trays at cookie season during the holidays. I give them to my kids' schools in big trays. I give cookies to my hairdresser. I also bring cookies to our Christmas Eve celebration, and then on Christmas Day we have some. Oh, and my dad's holiday party. So we have lots of cookies that need to get made, and it's just a fun tradition. My mom always made cookie trays, and that all started with my grandmother, who used to make over 20 different types of cookies. I make about 10 different types, and my mom, I think, only makes like 7. And we all make some of the same.
That looks like ice cream.
Oh, yes. Actually, let's move this over here so we can see the little ice creams. You can totally make bigger cookies, but I like for my cookie trays to make them a little bit smaller. So they're going to be a little bit smaller than what you might see when you cut off your log from the grocery store.
Mom, those are going to be ice cream cones.
They're going to be cookies. Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny.
Because the butter will melt down inside there, and so will the sugar, and then it will make cookies. The nice thing about
that's a cherry one.
Yeah. The nice thing about doing it this way too is you can fit like 3 in a row, which is great because you can cook more at once. I've got 3 trays going here. You're gonna get about 12 on each tray.
Like we could get those.
I'll only be able to cook 2 trays at a time. And we're gonna cook them at 375 degrees for about 9 to 11 minutes. It's gonna depend on your oven. Even my oven, I feel like varies year to year, so I try and check them. It's always like the first batch is a little funky. Why? We don't know. Like that first tray of cookies, it's just gonna be, like you have to get it right. So that's okay. It's expected. Those are the ones that I eat, right? Those are perfect. You see that brown on the outside? That's exactly how you want your Nestle Tollhouse cookie to be. And pulling it up here, it's actually, they're going to cook a little bit more through the middle once they come out. So you want to take them out when they're brown at the edges. But you see the top ones, they're still a little bit white, so we're going to wait on those. And then I'm just going to watch my time carefully. I'm going to pop these in too in the essence of time. I don't even know if this is really what this is for, but this is like a cake spatula. My mom always uses this to remove the cookies, and I'm with her. I like it. It's nice and flat. It works well. I want to thank you so much for watching today. This will be my last video before Christmas. Hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all so much.